Welcome into the Do Hard Things Today podcast. We're here to help you optimize every area of your life. I got my co-host Jed Blackwell with me. My name's Kevin Harrison, and today we're going to be talking about we're right smack dab in the middle of college football season. We've got the college football playoff looming, a lot of different things going on, and today we're going to talk about some of the nuggets that we've learned through the years from what I believe to be the best college football coach in the history of college football, and that is Nick Saban. Many of you will identify Nick Saban with the Alabama Crimson Tide. So for a lot of you, you're going to be very, very upset about that because he has been whooping up on people for a while. But for you Alabama Crimson Tide folks out there, I can hear you through the microphone right now yelling, "Roll Tide." So Jed Blackwell, what do you think about this topic of conversation from one Nicholas Saban?
Well, I love Coach Saban, and what I've learned from him is that oatmeal cream pies and a Diet Dr. Pepper are acceptable breakfast.
Yeah.
So I do that a lot.
Well, when you win that many national championships, you can eat whatever you want to eat.
Well, combined, the people who eat that religiously for breakfast have won however many national championships that he has won. He and I have combined for that many.
Yeah, and even as far as that, you talk about oatmeal cream pie, there's a story behind that, and just how –
He doesn't have to think about it.
Yeah.
That's what he has for breakfast. It's a one less decision that he has to make every single day. He don't have to decide what to have for breakfast. That's what he has for breakfast.
Yeah, and you find out with a lot of really successful people is that they try to eliminate as many of what seemingly insignificant decisions during the day as they can.
And you know, he's a no nonsense guy. I have met Coach Saban. I've interviewed Coach Saban 2017 before the Sugar Bowl, and we had a media party. And it drug on into the morning. And the last availability for both coaches was that next morning. And Saban went last. And he gave his opening statement. They kind of opened it up, and there were 20 of us in the room out of 200 who were down there covering the game. And he looked around. He said, "No curfew last night, huh?" No, Coach, we didn't have one. Yeah. But he is, in dealing with him, in the very limited time I dealt with him at media day and at that next engagement the next morning, just everything you see on TV about how he's gruff and put off by the media, it didn't seem like it those 2 days. He was outgoing and jovial and just pretty good to be around.
Yeah, I've interacted with him in a couple of different contexts and nothing like super close. Like not we're not buddies. Right. Not what I'm saying, but we've interacted in a few different instances, and I would say the same thing. He seemed very nice guy. He's intense.
Yeah.
You know, he believes in what he wants to do. I've heard him say this before, that part of his I don't want to say persona with the media and others as he was coaching his teams was he wanted to take as much of that stuff on himself and off of his players as possible, and he figured out pretty quickly that sometimes being gruff like that and kind of having that, you know, the old grumpy old man type thing, that it took a lot of the eyeballs off of his team and would put them on him.
And you know, a lot of the great ones are like that. Spurrier was like that. That, you know, he's arrogant, he's brash, but you know what? Nobody on his teams were, or you can't tell me that they were, because he didn't let them act like it.
That's right.
Because you noticed him. Wooden was like that. He's regimented and by the book, but you don't know whether Kareem was. You don't know if Bill Walton was, because their coach was, and that's where all the attention was deflected. I think that is a lot of, to what you're saying, absorbing a lot of that attention, positive and negative, is what makes them go. Yeah,
and so you know, many people are gonna, and again, he's on College Game Day now, and he does the speaking circuit, all those things. Most people are going to relate him, though, to the Alabama Crimson Tide and the multiple national championships he won then. He was also a coach at the Miami Dolphins, the LSU Tigers, and then we're going to go all the way back to the Michigan State Spartans, and we're going to talk about when Nick Saban speaks, and now you'll hear him. You can look him up online. He's got several different little. I don't know if he's done TED Talk or not, but he has done a ton of speaking, and you hear these things, and he's always talking about the process. And it's said in those, it's said together, the process. And so when I started looking at, okay, I want to talk about Nick Saban and some of the things that he has, some of the things I've learned from him through the years and others have, I wanted to get all the way back to that process. Jed, do you know where the process came from?
I think it's Michigan State, right?
Yeah, Michigan State. And it was interesting when they weren't having a ton of success, and he went to a psychiatry professor there at Michigan State. And he was like, how can I motivate this team? What can I do? What trick? Most coaches, they're always looking for that. How do you motivate people? How do you get them going and those kind of things? And these two got together, and coming out of this meeting is what they started recognizing as the process. And the process started, and this was very interesting to me. The process started, and really the first time you saw a huge success with it was in 1998, and when the Michigan State Wolverines went on the road, and huge upset that year, upset the number one ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. But what Nick Saban started working with his team on was, Jed, what's the average, how long is an average football play?
6 or 7 seconds.
Yeah, 6-7 seconds. What he started talking to them about was, and this is the whole reason I wanted to have this on the podcast. We talk on this podcast all the time about if you'll just win the day, do the hard things today, and tomorrow will take care of itself. He breaks it down even further than that. And he said, for 7 seconds, that's how long this play is going to go. What I want you to focus on is winning this 7 seconds. And that's one football play. And if you watch a football play, you'll think, 7 seconds. That's about how long it takes. I want to win that one football play. And if you'll win enough of those 7-second battles, then what happens, Jed?
You win the game convincingly.
Yeah, you're going to win the game convincingly. So what do you think what's the genius of that? That doesn't sound like some super genius thing to come up with. Hey, just win this 7 seconds. And then you start talking about the process.
It's intense focus on the immediate moment.
Ooh, intense focus on the immediate moment. All right, extrapolate that out a little bit.
It means you're not concerned with the long-term outcome of what might happen. You're concerned with what you can control right now. Yeah,
outcome. You know what surprised me about him? You used the word outcome, and I'm glad you did, because he uses that. You know what they don't? Now again, this is somebody who has won multiple national championships. This is the most decorated college football coach ever. So we're talking about, when you talk about people of like, oh, that guy, he's the one. He's the one. You know what they don't focus on at Alabama?
Winning.
They don't focus on winning. It's like, well, what do you mean they don't focus on winning? Every time I see him, he's mad on the sideline. He's getting upset. No, they don't focus on outcomes. What they focus on is what?
Process.
The process. And the process is you're going to go out there and you're going to win this 7-second battle. And that means every single player on that team has a battle to win. Whether it's the offensive lineman, whether it's the quarterback, whether it's the defensive tackle, the defensive back, whatever it is, they have a 7-second battle to win. And if you can rally those troops to win that 7-second battle, then you're going to win that play. And if you win that play, guess what? Guess what you get to do?
Get to go 7 more seconds.
You get to go 7 more seconds.
Yep.
And then you win. If you focus on that play, next thing you know, you've got a bunch of these plays have gone on. And then the outcomes come.
In listening to some of his players from the past too, they also said, as intense as he is on the sidelines and that yelling and screaming that you're talking about on the sidelines, he's also not focused on the outcomes of plays. It's the process there too. He's angry when you don't follow the process. Yeah. He's not angry because you failed to beat the guy across from you, because that kid's on scholarship too. Yeah. He gets paid money to play football as well, and sometimes he's going to be better than you are. But if you did the right things, if you went about your job the right way and you still got beat, well, then you just got beat.
Yeah.
And I'm not mad at that. I'm mad because you didn't follow the proper process.
Yeah, and that's some of the biggest criticism you'll hear of Nick Saban will be at the end of his Alabama games. And not that they're getting beat, because they rarely got beat, but when they're up 21 points, 28 points, and there's 2 minutes left in the game, the defense is out on the field, and the commentators are talking about, oh, man, a great game for Alabama. Everything's going good. And then you'll see him grab somebody coming off the thing, and I mean just chewing them out. And the criticism comes of, man, what does it matter? There's 2 minutes left in the game. You're up by 3 touchdowns. Why are you so intent on just chewing this player out? Well, he's answered that question. He said, because every single play, I'm not worried about what's on that scoreboard. What I'm worried about is if we follow the system now, I may need that third-string defensive back to be playing in 3 games in a game that really matters. And if I tell him it's okay not to follow the process, then that's what he's going to do. Yep. And so it was never about the score. I mean, obviously you want to win. Obviously there is a tally mark at the end of the game. But it was so much about do your job. Just do your job for 7 seconds and then get back in the huddle and then do your job again for another 7 seconds.
To go back to another great Alabama coach, that was Bear Bryant's philosophy too. Not exactly, but a little bit. He said he always made practices so tough. And I think his direct quote was, if a man's going to quit on me, I want him to quit in practice. Yeah. Not in a game.
Yeah. And you've all, anybody who's been on a field, a court, or any kind of, like, when you're playing teams like that.
Yes.
Those teams, they're generally characterized by a few things. Toughness, and they don't beat themselves.
Right.
And one of the most frustrating things you'll do, and this is something that plays over into business and the personal life, whatever it may be, if you can just not beat yourself, not make the dumb, undisciplined mistakes, then generally you put yourself in a pretty good position.
We talked about this the other week. I saw Abbeville play football. They didn't win this year. The night I saw them, they did lose. But they've won, I think it's 13 or 14 state championships, including 5 of the last 6 or 4 of the last 6, something like that. And I think I told you they had 1 pre-snap penalty that was an offsides on a hard count, no 15-yarders for late hits, and I never heard a player say another word to somebody who wasn't on his team. That's kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah. And that's what you call discipline.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing about Saban is he would take some criticism as well for not immediately punishing players. So if a player would get in some kind of trouble or something like that, people want, hey, kick them off the team. And I heard Saban say one time, he was like, what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to redirect and correct behavior, or are we just trying to punish somebody and not help them to get better? And that's something that I've thought about, since I listened to him say that, of, punishment and discipline are 2 different things. Discipline is instilling things inside of people that are going to help them be successful. Punishment is simply somebody did something wrong, so I'm going to give them a negative consequence for it. Maybe they won't do it again. And he argued that you're instilling all this discipline on the front end, and then if you're instilling all that discipline on the front end, and then somebody makes one mistake, you don't have to throw them off the team, or you don't have to make them lose their their starting position. You can go and talk to them and redirect that behavior. And that, honestly, I was surprised when I heard that from him on his thoughts and philosophy on that. And he talked about with discipline, and I heard these two questions, and it was a question of, there are going to be things that you need to do. There are going to be things that you need to do. Can you make yourself do them? And the second question was, there are going to be things that you don't need to do. Can you make yourself not do them?
When we talked about that, I wanted to interject, but I didn't, and I'm going to tell you now. I read a quote from Mike Tyson the other day. Who was the greatest heavyweight fighter of our youth?
No spectacle like a Mike Tyson prize fight.
Mike Tyson got up every morning at 4 o'clock, and by 5:30 he'd run between 3 and 5 miles. And somebody asked him one time, Mike, why do you run so early in the morning? He said, because I don't want to. He said, more importantly, because he don't want to. And I'm going to. So we'll see if he does or not.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, you think about that. I mean, it really is. I mean, when people talk about, Jocko Willink, we talked about on the pod, his whole phrase, discipline equals freedom.
Yep.
And just think about those two questions, Jed. What you just said with Mike Tyson. Hey, I do it because I don't want to.
Right.
I do something that stinks every day, and especially in the morning.
Yeah.
You can go out and just do something that you don't want to do. That's why some people do ice baths, and they get in ice baths because it just nobody wants to do it.
Right.
And it hurts, and it's all those things. Tyson's out there running, and what he's doing is he is building discipline. And what Saban knew when he was doing these things was, I'm building discipline in these young men. And when they get out there and they're in one of these SEC wars and they're in the third quarter, fourth quarter, and this thing's getting bloody and it's coming down to it, they know they've been there and they know they've got what it takes. And that's, those two questions, gosh, I just think about that in every area of life. There's things you need to do. To the people listening right now, there are things coming to your mind right now that you need to start doing. Can you make yourself do them? There are things right now that you need to stop doing. Can you make yourself stop doing them?
That's two pretty good questions.
That's two pretty good questions.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, so with Nick Saban, with his whole career and the things that he has, much like many people who are truly uber successful, at the top of the heap of what they do, when you really break them down to what they believe and what they teach and what they, the things they pass on, it's usually really, really simple. And it's not that these people do, and if you're trying to excel in whatever area of your life, it's not about, hey, I want to do all these extraordinary things. No. Super successful people aren't the best at all at doing extraordinary things. You know what they're the best at?
They're relentlessly good at doing ordinary things.
Relentlessly good about doing ordinary things. If you're going to go shoot 100 free throws and that's what you do every day, you know what you do every day?
Shoot 100 free throws.
You shoot 100 free throws. If you're a salesperson listening to this and you're going to make 10, you need to make 10 contacts every single day. You know what you do?
Make them.
You make 10 contacts. There's nothing. And then people will say, oh, man, he drives. Man, look at that nice car he drives. Look at the house he lives in. Look at how much money he's got. And all. Man, he just must be a genius. No. He makes 10 contacts every day.
Right.
Relentlessly. Nick Saban and his Alabama Crimson Tide, they practice hard every day. Every single play that they're in practice, they're striving to do it exactly right. And he rides them and doesn't let them get off, holds them accountable, cares enough about them to hold them accountable. And I would say that if you're a leader in an organization, if you truly care about your people, then you give them the resources to be successful, and then you better be holding them accountable, or you're telling them you don't care about them. Yeah, what's your final thoughts on Mr. Nicholas Saban?
I think, like you think, he's the greatest to ever do it. I think that everything in that process can be extrapolated to other fields besides just the ones on which they play football.
Yeah.
And I think he's a pretty smart guy.
Yeah, brilliant guy. And I think we've been lucky to have him around, and I think we're still lucky to have him in. For those of us that are big college football fans, I think he's a voice of reason, and one that we can, through his videos and talks and other things, we can learn a lot about. And just like on this podcast, he talks about winning, doing the hard things for 7 seconds during that play. And what we encourage you to do every single time, do the hard things today, and tomorrow will take care of itself.